I'm going to be honest, I've sat here for probably the past 10, 15, 20 minutes trying to figure out how to start this video. I knew that this was something that I wanted to make, but honestly, sitting down here, it's very different. And it's really tough. Obviously, by the thumbnail and the title and the fact that it's probably gotten all around the internet at this point, a good friend of mine passed away. His name was Ronnie Edwards, also known as Ronnie Edwards. He ran a show called Digressing and Sidequesting, and he is also very famous for editing the hit show Game Theory. As many of you guys know, I was a member of the Game Theorist team for a decent while. I had two shows, Crossover and Smash History, and I'm considered to be one of the original four, something like that. And Ronnie being one of them, I've known him since the beginning. I've known him since before I was even associated with the Game Theorists in any real way, shape, or form. And it really sucked to hear. A lot. Honestly, look, I can't minimize it. It really hurt to hear that Ronnie passed away, and even worse, that it was a suicide. I've known for about a week, and I've gone through the grieving process as much as I possibly can right now. And I still can't fully process it, but especially as someone who was close to him, I need to give a statement, but also there was so much happening surrounding Ronnie even before his passing that I felt like as his friend I wanted to just do something to share some good memories with him so that the last thing that's out there isn't just negativity and miscommunication, confusion, anything like that. I'm not going to comment on any of that stuff because frankly I don't know, I wasn't there. But I can tell you about what I was there for, the good memories that I had with Ronnie. I first met Ronnie circa late 2012, 2013. I've known MatPat for probably since the beginning of the Game Theory has a show back when I worked at ScrewAttack.com. And that's how I met Gaijin Goomba and Ronnie as well. And I had talked to him, Ronnie, because of course we're talking about him. I talked to Ronnie just over the internet, never met him in person until SGC 2013. And it was funny because Matt had just checked in to the hotel. We were at the Hyatt Regency, and I went over to say hello, and then I'm giving Matt this big hug, and then this dude is like, "Oh well, I guess I'm chopped liver," and I didn't realize who it was at the time. It was Ronnie. I'd never actually seen what he looked like, so I didn't even put two and two together. But then when he like, "Yeah, hi, I'm Ronnie," I lost it. I gave him a hug. We snapped a picture and we hung out. And even though we had talked online, it was never anything really in depth. And those 3 days were when I really first started getting to know him, and that's whenever I realized that I actually had a good new friend on my hands. We hung out and partied the entire time, and pretty shortly thereafter, probably a few months after that, I started actually working for the Game Theorist. Originally, the show was going to be on Game Theory, but then it had to be on Screw Attack for a 6-month period as per my non-compete. But still, during that time where I was workshopping crossover for Screw Attack, getting ready to bring it onto the Theorist, I had built a friendship up with Ronnie. And again, not necessarily a huge one because we were only talking online at the time, and even then, we weren't coworkers quite yet. It wouldn't be until I actually started working with the Game Theorists on a regular basis that I started going to meetings and having a conversation with everybody involved. Ronnie was a major nihilist. And oh my god, he had the most deadpan sense of humor. And sometimes you couldn't tell if he was joking or not. And well, honestly, I still don't know if he was joking a lot about everything. But he had a very unique sense of humor that I gravitated towards very quickly. It wouldn't be until the following SGC 2014, where I would really actually start to hang out with Ronnie on a more personal basis. We shared a hotel room for the convention, and I spent, honestly, most of the con with him, playing games, doing panels, all of that. I took a trip to Los Angeles to hang out with a bunch of my YouTube friends that lived in the area. Ronnie was one of the first people I went to visit. I went to his place in Koreatown, and when I got there, I was blown away by the fact that there was no furniture. He had a mattress on the ground in his bedroom, and he had a box that he put his laptop on to edit. He had a couple of boxes full of random odds and ends. His bathroom had all the normal toiletries, but otherwise, he had a living room that had no furniture in it whatsoever. It was weird. I'm not gonna deny it. It was really, really weird. We played bouncy ball in his living room. Ronnie had this bouncy ball, and we threw it around the living room, and it was bouncing off all ends. It was bouncing off the floor, the ceiling, the walls, and it was just throw the ball as hard as you can and try to catch it, try not to get hit by it. It was an experience, and we just sat there shooting the shit, throwing this ball, and it was a very, very relaxing experience. It was just a mindless, busy activity. We walked to this Korean place not too far from his apartment. I don't know the exact type of food. It's whatever the table with the stove in the middle. It wasn't quite Korean barbecue, but something like that. We got a bottle of soju, and it was probably about 11 in the morning, and we're sitting there drinking soju and just having a good time. It's interesting because on the LA trip, the first one I took, I really spent more time with Ronnie than anybody else. He later went back to my Airbnb, and we filmed this stupid little vine of my new rap song, Yeah, and Ronnie would beatbox, and I'm sitting there, yeah, it was so dumb. It was so dumb. I ended up calling Matt and hanging out with him, and Ronnie came with me, where Matt told us that there was the rap party for his YouTube Red show, Game Lab, and so Ronnie and I were hanging out with Kerbifer, Chris Niosi, and the three of us all went to the rap party and had just a great time. Many drinks were had, many conversations were had, a grand experience. Matt told me that a couple weeks later, I forget the exact time frame, but there would be the red carpet for Game Lab, and he invited me out. So I went back to LA a second time faster than I was anticipating, because I was going for that. I was there for a short amount of time, hung out with Ronnie mostly. My ex-fiance was with me, and so the three of us hung out. We went to this boba place, but it was boozy boba. It was a very, and they were all like named after Pokemon, so we had like the Bulbasaur, and it was in the back of this other restaurant entirely. We were very confused because we walked in, we didn't know where to go, and then it was very hoity-toity. We didn't know anything, and they're like, "Oh, you looking for the bubble place? Yeah, it's in the back." And so we walk through the restaurant, through like people sitting there eating their meals. We go to the very back, and we just sit there drinking our boba. We catch an Uber to the YouTube space, and we actually ended up getting there early. Nobody was there, and we didn't know how to get in. Matt was filming a live stream with Jake from Vsauce 3, but somebody from the YouTube space let us in. Matt vouched for us. He got pulled away for like a couple seconds to actually do that. And then Ronnie and I were on the stream. It was a grand time. We were playing like a Would You Rather kind of situation. Then we had the red carpet premiere, and it was a lot of fun. Really, really good stuff. Outside of hanging out with Ronnie in person, though, there was this time where I got a call on my phone from Matt. I was trying to get a hold of him, and I kept getting voicemail. I got a call back, and Matt was saying, What do you need? I'm taking a drive with my wife and my friends, and you're bothering me." And my face drained of color, and I started apologizing profusely. And I hear this laughing in the background, and I'm like, "Oh no, what did I do?" And so I start freaking out, and I'm honestly about to burst into tears. I thought I was going to lose my job. I thought that one of my friends was mad at me, that I had done something to upset him. And then the phone hangs up, and I'm sitting there just kind of like in a little bit of anxiety, about to have an anxiety attack, and I get a call back, and it was Matt saying that was Ronnie the first time. They were driving, and Ronnie had taken the phone and called and pretended to be Matt, but since it was on speakerphone and with the distortion of low quality phone audio, I was convinced that it was Matt talking, and Ronnie had just pulled the ultimate dupe on me. I was so relieved to hear that I wasn't in trouble. I wasn't losing my job. It was a real dick move, but it went over. Pretty interestingly. Before Crossover got onto the Game Theorist channel, I had a short-lived podcast with my co-creator on Crossover, Kenny. It was called the Zappy Zap podcast. It was just a dumb little thing. We had Ronnie on for an episode, and we just talked. It was just a conversational podcast. The subject of, I want to say, Roller Coaster Tycoon came on, talking about, Kenny was mentioning that he would speed up time and he would just go, "My ostriches are having babies!" Ronnie lost it the way Kenny exclaimed this. He said, "I want that soundbite," and I gave it to him. I didn't know what he was going to do with it. I then watch an episode of Digressing and Side Questing, and suddenly at the very end of the episode, you just hear, "My ostriches are having babies!" And Ronnie's character goes, oh, okay. And it's funny because nobody really knew what that was about, what that clip was. It was just from a random dumb podcast that nobody watched. Maybe 20 people watched. And it was just a stupid minor in-joke. And it made it into a video with a shit ton of views. I would talk to Ronnie about any of my personal stuff. Whenever I was really getting down some dark paths, he reached out. I reached out to him, and we bonded a lot over depression and negativity. Not really a great thing to bond over, but he listened to me, and it was nice. He didn't say much about himself. He would more or less whenever I would say something, he would say, yeah, totally, I feel the same, and then he would have some crazy random insight. He was a very, very insightful dude. He read a lot of books. He would quote people a lot. I wish that I had done more to actually ask. I figured that he wasn't saying a whole lot of his personal experience as, he wasn't comfortable with it. And, if he wanted to just listen, I wasn't going to push, but I figured he would open up to me whenever he was ready. And I got bits and pieces, but nothing too concrete. We never really talked about him. He never really seemed to want to. And when I got the email from Matt about everything that happened, it was tough because I've been there. Anybody who is familiar with me knows that I have clinical depression, and I've attempted suicide on many occasions. And on my most recent attempt, Ronnie was there to comfort me. And I got better. I realized that suicide is a permanent solution to temporary problems. I wish I could have done more and done the same for him. But really, that's the way it is. It's always shoulda, coulda, woulda. I don't have any ads on this video. It's not monetized, and if it is monetized, then that's something must have happened with YouTube. Should not be the case. However, I do want to put a donation link in the description directly to a charity focusing on suicide prevention. I'm personally going to be contributing to it, and I would urge you guys to do it as well if you are willing and able. Suicide is sadly getting more and more common, and depression it's taboo, and we don't talk about it enough. I really don't know what I'm supposed to do with this video. All I knew is that I wanted to do a long-form ramble, talk about a few happy memories. That's why I'm not using my regular camera. I'm using my webcam because my normal camera shuts off after 12 minutes, and this is probably going to be longer than 12 minutes. It really sucks. I lost a personal friend, someone that I was able to be vulnerable with, a good listener, a man who gave good advice. He made me laugh a lot, and you realize that sometimes the people that make us laugh the most are sometimes the people that need the most support. They're the ones hiding the most. Positives, though, I've talked to some people that I haven't talked to in a while. And as we've grieved together, I like to think it's brought us back together. Positive is, I hope that this shows that, you know, depression and suicide are very real things, and I hope that at the very least, people are more comfortable talking about it. I'm not saying this was a good thing by any means, because it's not. But if we can make something out of it, then well, that's something. Ronnie was a good friend. He was a friend I wish I got to know better. And it hurts that I'm never going to get to actually get to know him better. These are just some minor stories that made me happy. Hopefully, you guys know him a little better from outside of just a screen. Hopefully, hearing me talk about him, I don't know. I really don't know. This is a very different type of video than I normally make, and yeah. I can just sit here saying, I don't know, but like I said, I spent like 10 to 30 minutes just trying to figure out how to start the video. I sure as hell don't know how to end it. So I guess I'll just end it here. If you are depressed, if you are getting to that point where you think that taking your own life is an option, please seek help. It does get better. It absolutely does get better. Find professional help if you need medication. There is nothing wrong with that. Talking to other people, getting help, it doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you broken or incomplete. There are plenty of people going through the same stuff, and feeling this way is sadly normal. It shouldn't be the case, but it's getting more and more common. Please seek help, because I guarantee there are people that care. Even if you don't really believe it in the moment, if you think that nobody does, I guarantee there's people that do. So yeah. We're just going to end it here.